I've created a brand new challenge for Football Manager 2023, which is as simple as climbing a ladder. The ladder challenge aims to win the top 9 domestic leagues in Europe, plus the 3 European club competitions. The challenge sends us through the leagues from Scotland to England, following the league reputation at the start of the game. With one twist, we need to simulate the first season and take control of the first club in the Scottish Premiership with a managerial vacancy. It's June 2023 and Rangers have won the Premiership ahead of Celtic, with Livingston in a shock third. The job centre is pretty empty though, only Marseille, Lazio and Espanyol, which none of them play in Scotland. Only Paul Lambert at Dundee United is insecure in his role right now, so we might be waiting for a long while. Cue a manager merry-go-round. Marseille sacked Igor Tudor. A month later, Patrick Vieira swapped Crystal Palace for Marseille, and Michael Beale went south to fill the Crystal Palace job, leaving us to fall into the best possible place, taking over the champions Rangers. Despite being reigning champions, we are only predicted to finish second, so the battle with Celtic will no doubt be season long. We've got about $4 million left to spend in the transfer budget, with just under a month to go until the new season begins. But the squad is already a good one, and there are a few transfers already in flight. I plugged in my 4-2-3-1 tactic to take the fight to Celtic. But just days into my tenure, we suffered a massive blow, with new signing Stambouli suffering a damaged cruciate ligament, and we would miss the majority of the season. I acted quickly though and secured the loan move of Asiabar from Hertha Berlin as a replacement. We also brought in Lallana on loan from Brighton, while sending Sakala and Haji out on loan as well. Our last move was to bring in Diego Costa on a free transfer to support Morelos in the hunt for goals. The season began away at Livingston, who went down to 10 men early, and we capitalised with 4 goals. The first was this lovely ball over the top, which Smallbone slotted home. He then tapped in his second before half-time, and Morelos smashed in his first of the season in the second half. And he finished the job to score a brace as well. Now, the Champions League draw handed us a tough group with Bayern and Juventus alongside Sturm Graz. Hearts held us in the second league game, but a victory over Aberdeen led us into the first Old Firm derby of the season, away at Celtic Park. We lined up with a strong 11, but both sides cancelled each other out and played out a 0-0 draw, with Morelos picking up a knock and the referee handing out a yellow card to everyone on the pitch. A Goldson header was enough to get us back to winning ways over Ross County, but injury stuck again, as Diego Costa's first real act was to break John Suter's leg in training and rule him out for 6 months. My first foray into Europe started well, with Smallbone putting us ahead early against Bayern Munich, but 2 headers from De Ligt and then Stanisic ruined our evening and gave them the 3 points. Back in the league, Smallbone continued his form, bumbling home the opener against St Johnstone and then doubling the lead with a much cleaner strike from the edge of the area. Lallana then played through Tavernier to make it 3 before St Johnstone tried to mount a comeback in the second half. But Lammers got us our 4th goal of the game. Despite a late penalty, we left 4-2 winners. The next Old Firm derby came quickly, this time in the League Cup, which doesn't matter for our challenge, but it would still be nice to win. And we knocked Celtic out thanks to 2 goals from Morelos, either side of a Turnbull equaliser. Our good run of form looked to be for nothing, as Pogba headed Juventus ahead in the first half of our next Champions League game, but a quick response saw Maina's winding run result in the equaliser, and a counter-attack saw Morelos beat the offside trap and bamboozle the goalkeeper to give us a 2-1 lead at the break. We held on and got all 3 points. The great run of form continued through October and November, with 6 more wins in the league and 4 points gained against Sturm Graz in the Champions League groups. Even Diego Costa got involved, scoring off the bench. This left the league table looking good, with a 2-point gap over Celtic before the League Cup semi-final against Hamilton, and an early penalty was the first of our 4 first-half goals, with Morelos grabbing a brace before playing through Rocinha before the break. Hamilton showed some life in the second half, but pulled back 2 goals, only for Morelos to grab his hat-trick to put us into our first final of the saved game. The return game against Juventus was up next, and they were in fighting form in Turin, but Kolak put us ahead early with against the run of play, but this only seemed to annoy the old lady as they put us to the sword in the second half. Pogba bundled home the equaliser before Cuadrado, Di Maria and Vlahovic all scored 4 in 8 minutes, leaving us down for the count. The late strike from Lallana certainly looked nice, but didn't really matter as we lost 4-2. As we entered December, disaster struck in the league. After going ahead against Aberdeen, we were shell-shocked when they ran rings around us and scored 3 goals, putting the game to bed before half-time. This left us in poor form heading into the final Champions League group game against Bayern. We didn't need to worry though, as early goals from Rachinia and then Mena put us 2 goals to the good. But Bayern came straight back, with Vidovic smashing home 2 quick goals to level things up. Nice. I was unsure what the best outcome would be here, as the Europa League is clearly more winnable for us at this stage, but a great start to the second half saw Kolak put us back ahead, and then his second doubled our advantage. My thoughts about the Europa League were long gone. We have struggled to hold on to leads recently, and that did not end here, with Koeman and then Stach getting 2 goals in a minute, before Koeman then made it 5, and left me hoping that results would go our way to send us into the Europa League. But my side had other ideas once again. Mena smashed in this beauty from just outside the area to level the game once more, before a Rachinia free kick cracked the crossbar and was followed up by Lammers, who then found himself in bags of space after a corner to grab the winner in a 12-goal thriller. An absolutely crazy game which saw both sides go through at the expense of Juventus, who won the final game against Sturm Graz, meaning that if we'd lost, the Europa League berth was ours anyway. But never mind, our reward for that fine effort: a tie against Inter Milan. Great. 3 more league victories followed before the League Cup final against Hearts, which we won comfortably thanks to a single goal from Kolak in the first half. The League Cup might not matter, but it's still very nice to lift a trophy after only a few months at the club. We continued our winning ways with another victory over Celtic, with Rachinia grabbing the game's only goal, giving us a 7-point advantage to close out 2023. Off the pitch, January was a success, as we shipped out a few fringe players and made a few key moves. On the outs were Cantwell for $2 million to Coventry, Lawrence to Hibs for $1.2 million, young goalkeeper Robbie McCrory on loan to Preston with an option to buy later, and veteran Angel Mena to Sao Paulo for £275,000, with Nicholas Raskin going on loan to PSV. They were replaced by new first-choice goalkeeper David Rea from Brentford for just $4.5 million. Gifted midfielder Danny Ceballos came in from Inter for $7.5 million, with young left winger Dominik Yankov for $3.1 million from Ludogorets, with young defender Jakub Kivia from Arsenal coming in on loan on deadline day. A very productive transfer window, but on the pitch we nearly dropped points against Motherwell before 3 draws against lowly Queen's Park, lowly Ross County and Aberdeen. But we did smash St Mirren 7-1 in the Cup, and we faced them in the league next, but our advantage over Celtic was down to just 3 points once again. 2 more points were dropped over the next 3 league games, but Celtic could only match us, and then we were in Scottish Cup action again against Aberdeen. We took a comfortable 2-0 victory, with Tavernier converting from the spot, and Kolak making sure we made it into the quarter-finals with a lovely header. The Champions League was back next, as we hosted Inter at Ibrox and made a dream start, as first Lallana and then Rachinia put us 2 up after just 25 minutes. Inter were not out of it though, as Martinez scored this goal to bring them back into things by half-time. The second half was a similar story, as Lallana got his second, with Martinez trying to peg us back again just minutes later. Lallana rounded out his hat-tricks with just 4 minutes left in normal time, but we couldn't hang on once again. Aslani got Inter's third just 90 seconds later, and then Martinez, not to be outdone, netted his hat-trick deep into stoppage time and got the 98th minute equaliser to level things up heading back to Italy. We had 4 league games before then though, and the congested schedule started to see us fall. We fell to our second defeat of the season, this time to Hearts, but 3 more victories left us level with Celtic. Now they were ahead on goal difference. This meant our game away at Celtic Park would be massive in the title race, but first we were off to Italy and the San Siro. We were ahead inside 4 minutes thanks to a Tavernier penalty, but a back post header from Silva just a few minutes later levelled the tie up. Morelos then broke from almost the kickoff to slot home our second of the night, but Silva then grabbed his second of the night just before half-time, and the second half saw the difference in class prove too much, as Dumfries was left unmarked and smashed home the eventual winner. We were down and out 6-7 on aggregate. If we are to hang around for longer than a season in Scotland, youth candidate Liam Finlay looks to be a promising right winger, but his fickle personality will need working on. We got the opportunity for immediate revenge on Hearts in the Scottish Cup, which we took full advantage of, winning 7-2, with Morelos leading the way with 5 goals. This set up another cup clash with Celtic in the semi-finals, but now it was time for that crunch battle in the league. Morelos was once again the main man as we overcame Celtic after a strong second half performance. The Colombian grabbed the first goal and then turned provider for Rachinia to grab the second. This put the gap back up to 3 points as we neared the split for the final 5 games. We won the next 2 games with ease, and the fixtures gave us the tantalising final day clash against Celtic at Ibrox. We had yet another Old Firm derby in the Scottish Cup semi-final, but things didn't look good. Raya's poor clearance led to the opener, which Caleri slotted home, before we came back with Rachinia getting a quick equaliser. Then a Ceballos free kick ballooned up off the wall and was headed home by Kivia to secure a place in the final against Livingston. Hearts proved to be our bogey team once again as they comfortably beat us 2-0, but thankfully Celtic had an even worse day in Edinburgh as Hibs smashed them 4-0. Status quo. More victories came in the next few games though, including a 7-1 win over Dundee United, but wait, hang on, we're champions! Celtic drew their penultimate game against Aberdeen and robbed us of a trophy celebration. Regardless, we went 1-0 up thanks to a Morales penalty, and Rivdon got sent off in the most bizarre-looking challenge. Kyogo got Celtic the equaliser, but we were determined to win another Old Firm derby as Morelos tapped in a rebound from a Lamas effort to win the game 2-1 and take the title ultimately by 8 points in the end. Our final game was the Scottish Cup, and this was going to be our last one in charge. Yankov put us ahead inside 5 minutes before Kolok smashed home the second. Yankov tapped in at the back post, and Rachinia made it 4-0 to put Livingston away. Rangers had won the domestic double. We'd knocked Celtic out of both cups and been undefeated against them in the league. Just don't mention Hearts. A look at the job board shows absolutely nothing in Austria. So as I resign, where will I end up next?